Survivor Syndrome is a short story from 2011. It is written by the British writer Liz Jensen, who was born in 1959. She is actually married to Carsten Jensen, who is a Danish writer. What I'm going to do with this short story is that first I'm going to make a summary. I'm going to talk about the setting and environment. Then I'm going to do a characterization. I'm going to talk about symbolism, themes, and I'm going to relate it to the man in nature topic. This short story is about Dimitri, who's from Greece, who goes to London to photograph this natural disaster known as the flood. One day, on a spare day off, he walks around on the Wimbledon Commons and he meets Mr. McGlavery, who has built a boat to use like when the flood gets bad. And he invites, well, Dimitri sort of invites himself to see this boat. He asks Mr. McGlavery if he wants to show it. And when the flood then does get bad, Dimitri tries to get away in this boat, and there's this little boy who'd really like to be on this boat and basically begs to be on this boat too. And when he's trying to survive in the water and not getting like killed or anything, Dimitri takes a picture of this boy and calls it Drowning Boy, and he ends up becoming very famous. This story is set in London, and for some people it may seem a bit futuristic because it had like this short story talks about a natural disaster that may only happen way out in the future. So therefore, some people may argument for the fact that it is a bit futuristic. Then I have the characterization. I'll start with Dimitri. He's Greek from Athens, and he's a photographer. He's young, or at least a bit unexperienced. He hasn't really photographed anything out of Greece yet. This is his first foreign assignment. He is naive and seems a bit self-centered as well because he just wants to get this right. He just want to make his boss proud. Uh, his boss is called Old Alexander, and the development over the story is that he gets really guilty over the drowning boy picture that he took because it's literally showing someone who's trying to survive, and he didn't help him survive. He just took this picture. Then I have Mr. McGlavery. He's a craftsman and is sort of seen as this typical British craftsman. He builds this boat that Dimitri sails in and saves his life. He also seems to be sentimental over children. Um, there was one part of the story when Dimitri and Mr. McGlavery goes to see this boat that there are some children on the other side of, I believe it was a beach, where they're waving to Mr. McGlavery and Dimitri, and Mr. McGlavery sort of becomes a bit sad over the fact that they're over there all alone, and yeah, he just seems like he may not have had the best childhood or the best hopes uh, for a better adulthood than a childhood. In the end of the story, he gets water pucks and he's like unable to be saved uh, when the flood comes. Then I have a characterization of the little boy, the so-called drowning boy. He seems to be all alone with no parents, and he has this like survivor instinct. And that's maybe because he'd been through stuff before that is just as bad as this natural disaster. So therefore he seems a bit stronger and has a lot thicker skin than Dimitri has. The next up I have symbolism, and the first symbol I found was the flood, like the natural disaster in itself. And water and floods in general can mean something with emotions and having emotional flooding. And you can put this on the story, meaning that Dimitri really wants to do well with this assignment, this first foreign assignment, and um, he is pretty much overfloated with stress and emotions about this project, and he just wants to make his boss proud. Then I have a bit about the picture. The pictures to show remembrance. Pictures are usually to show remembrance, but here it was also to become famous for somebody else, like seeing somebody else hurting and becoming famous over it, which is also why Dimitri becomes so guilty in the last bit of the text, or the short story, sorry. Uh, then I have the title as my last symbol. Uh, Survivor syndrome is actually a real disease or mental disorder. It's where you become so guilty over something that isn't really your fault. Like, for example, if you sit on, go give your spot on a plane to another person and this plane crashes, like there was a story about Buddy Holly's guitarist or something. He gave a plane ticket to another man, and the plane crashes and kills everybody. And this guy, uh, who gave the spot away, is so guilty about the fact that he did that that he feels like he killed this human being when it was actually an accident. The symptoms of this disease is depression and anxiety, which you can put on the little guy as well, and Dimitri, because the little guy like begs to come on the boat and he wants to survive so bad. And then Dimitri gets anxiety over the fact that he did something that could have killed another human being, or actually did kill another human being. Then I have the themes in the text. The themes are obviously nature, uh, natural disasters, death and anxiety, and that's death is because of the flood. It like kills people, and anxiety is just what I've told in the first, like up in the symbolism for the title. Relation to the man and nature uh subject or topic. Sorry. Well, this is like in class we've been talking a lot about how nature affects people pretty badly, and how um natural disasters can happen, and this story is about a natural disaster. Um, it is a part of nature that is disliked and something that us human beings we don't want to happen. But it's sort of like if we treat nature badly, this is what this is what is gonna come to us. This is like sort of like nature's karma in a way. Yeah. This was my analyzing of the short story uh, by Liz Jensen called um, Survivor Syndrome.